What up, guys? This is the Dragon here for another edition of Iron Man builds. Doing a quick missile build today. I like to call this one the boom build because I mean, shit, there's a ton of missiles going left and right and left and right and splitting wigs back, blowing fucking brains out. So anyways, we're going to get into this. As you can see, the first ability that I have here, toggle to the X, is going to be the missile salvo. This is your main go-to, really low suit power cost, and it's going to do, nearly 6 hits per second. You can increase that with attack speed of about 4,000 as a fresh 60. Just using that non-stop. And then we follow it up with the wrist rockets. And the wrist rockets I definitely think are another go-to ability that I like to use. I mean, has a 4-second cooldown. You're going to be spamming that pretty much every 4 seconds to apply that DOT with low suit power cost. And it does a little bit more damage just overall versus the missile salvo. With the cooldown in there, you're going to want to spam that and get that on a ton of people. And then next up, we've got the micro missiles, which is pretty much the reason I went with the missile build. You get this at a low level. And as you level up, you can increase it through talents and such to have more charges. It's going to shoot 24 missiles at, about $1, $2 of damage, anywhere from 1,000 to a little bit less than 2,000. Again, low suit power cost, 5-second cooldown, and with those charges, you're always going to have these micro missiles. Again, 24 missiles, an insane amount, and these are going to be able to crit and brutal strike as well. Next up, we've got the Pulse Bolt. Really, that's my main spender here. I really don't like to go over this one too much. It does a nice AoE effect, but again, it's just a quick spender. You're going to be using this whenever you completely run out of suit power for the most part, and wait for it to regenerate. Then next up, we have the Jericho Bombardment. I really like this ability here as well. I just like the effect of it. You're basically going to shoot up you're calling down a bunch of missiles, and that's going to apply vulnerability, which you're going to want to constantly do to all the enemies every 6 seconds. And this is going to increase, this is going to give you a DOT along with the wrist rocket. And then we have hyper velocity charge. Your standard dash. It'll increase your movement speed and attack speed by a little bit to give you nice, a little DPS buff when you're using your missile salvo. But for the most part, you're going to be wanting to move around and get out of the way of any one-shotters or any heavy area attacks. And then you've got the arc reactor, which I pretty much incorporate in all the builds with him, just due to the fact that going to always be constantly running low on suit power because you'll be using so many abilities so quickly. It has a 10-second cooldown, and it's going to do 20,000 damage to everybody in a nice little radius around you. Then I switch over to the one-off, great power, and I didn't incorporate this in the melee build because I wanted to focus on those melee powers, but this is something that, looking back, I definitely should have put in there. It just does a ton of damage, roughly 30,000 to 45,000 damage, 3 hits. Some of the lower level enemies, if you get a brutal or critical strike on them, it's going to take, half of their life. Some of the weaker enemies just right out. You're invulnerable during the time that you're doing it. It's a quick animation, but with invulnerability, there are some big attacks that, especially on Cosmic, that will legit one-shot you, or if not two-shot you, with so many enemies going around, so you can definitely use this to avoid that. 20-second cooldown, it's not bad. You'll be having so many other abilities going off that 20 seconds will come around pretty quickly. The skills I like to use, so let's go to the talents here. As you can see, the first talent that I have selected is missile targeting. I just really like the background damage you're going to get from this. When you hit with the power, you're going to instantly shoot off 5 missiles, just give you a little bit of extra damage. It costs a little bit of suit power, but it's going to be a background effect. I don't have to worry about it, and I can move on using my plethora of abilities that I have. Then next up, I have the Extremist Healing Nanites. Definitely needed this, though it lowers my suit power a little bit, just due to the fact that, especially on Cosmic, even Super Heroic, once they release Omega, you're going to need a healing ability if you have any chance of soloing, unless you're playing like a summoner class where you can have those summons block you. But in a lot of instances, you're taking a ton of damage regardless of what you're doing, so you need that 20% max health per second for the 3 seconds, and it comes back every 10 seconds. A free heal along with your med kit. Next up, we have the Upgrade missile payloads. Real quick and simple. This is going to be plus 10% to explosive damage. All your abilities essentially do explosive damage besides the one-off, as well as gives you an extra micro missile, so you go from two stacks to 3 stacks. And your wrist rocket does the DOT, as you saw already over there, so it's going to be a really nice addition to your DPS. You have the upgraded targeting computer, which changes your initial repulsor blast power to the missile salvo, and gives you the 24 rockets versus the 12 that you have. And finally, we have the upgraded arc reactor. So this is going to change that arc reactor to do 4 hits versus, you know, the single one that it kind of states on there. The tooltip, it does look like it is not updated, but it's going to do 4 hits. So versus the 20,000 dead, you're going to do, you know, on the high end without a crit, you're going to do 40,000 over quite a few hits as well, giving you a chance to, you know, either do a critical or brutal, as well as increasing your max suit power, which is vital for this playstyle. So I'll kind of pop into some of the gameplay here. What's nice is this particular build is there's a ton of ways you can play the build. For the most part, I essentially like to go in first with my either my Jericho missiles or my micro missiles. That way I can, you know, start that cooldown on the micro missile, do, you know, what, 60, 72 hits of damage, and hopefully have that Jericho missile down so I can do that, so I can get the vulnerability buff on there. And I pop the arc reactor once I start to get low on suit power or low on health, whichever one's first. Usually it's suit power depending on who I'm fighting. And I try to pop wrist rockets every 4 seconds. Boom, boom, boom. I want to keep applying that DOT just over and over to keep a constant flow of damage, as well as the Jericho missile if possible. When you're not doing anything and you have leftover suit power, just hold down X. You're going to be blasting people away. I'll throw in one off as well, you know, dash around some to really avoid being hit. And it's pretty simple, nothing too completely complex. Once you do run low on suit power, obviously you're going to want to use the pulse blast. That way it still gives you a little bit of DPS, but it keeps you safe and it keeps that suit power recovering so you can use all your other high damaging abilities. That kind of sums it up. It's pretty clear cut and simple. You'll see me use a few summons here and there. My ultimate, which I just love, Iron Man's ultimate, he summons all those suits into battle. But if you guys have any questions, definitely shoot me a message. I'll be playing quite a bit, really loving the game, and since the open beta will be coming up here soon, I'll have my chance to get my hands on that. Go ahead and take the build, do some gear for it, tweak it, love it, play it. Fucking have a good time, ladies and gents. Peace out.
Activate. Sorry, not happening. Sorry, not happening. My armor's trash.
Knock in the face! Nobody told me I was expendable! Shut down the experiments. Pay for this.
Fragile. Not bad. I bet I get stuck with the bill for cleanup.